What is going on, everybody? We're back with the extension of my latest mock draft. I asked for 1,000 likes. You guys delivered, so it's time for me to deliver rounds 2 and 3 of that mock draft. Make sure you go back and watch that first round mock because this is not going to make a whole lot of sense if you don't. And also, please do consider hitting that like button down below on this video as well. So here we go. Cincinnati has the 33rd pick. Definitely still need offensive line help after, especially after going Joe Burrow with the first overall pick. Got to protect him. So we're going to grab Josh Jones, who very well could be a first-round caliber player, just happens to fall in this scenario. So we're going to grab Josh Jones, plug him in at right tackle. Don't think there's a lot of people that are going to tell you that Bobby Hart is the long-term answer there. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts. DeAndre Swift here. Bit of a luxury pick, to be honest. I looked at this Colts defense, and I don't know if you're going to find a whole lot of starters in the second round. You might be able to find one here or there, but DeAndre Swift is a potentially elite running back. And once you get here at the end of the first round, early second round, that's when I'm definitely comfortable taking DeAndre Swift. Now, I don't know if I'd give him an extension after 4 years. That's a different conversation, but I mean, Phillip Rivers loves to throw to those running backs. I do like Marlon Mack, but he's a good, not great player. I think DeAndre Swift, Marlon Mack, you got a great combination there, especially with what Swift does in the receiving game, where he's one of those elite pass-catching backs. My comp for him is Alvin Kamara. Then Detroit with the 35th pick. So we grabbed Isaiah Simmons, who's going to be kind of a linebacker safety hybrid. They're definitely still going to want to add another corner to this room in this situation. I know that they do have Amani Aruwari there, and I like him. But even then, Desmond Trufant is not like a long-term answer there. So I'm still going to go corner here for Detroit after not taking Jeff Okudah. In the first round, we're going to grab Jeff Gladney out of TCU, can do a little bit of everything and is an experienced player. All right, 36th, the New York Giants. I'm going to grab Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin. I have actually mocked him occasionally in the first round. Might not have that athletic upside to be maybe an elite center like a Kelsey or whoever, but I mean, gosh, he could just be a 10-year pro, not all pro, but like really good quality starter at center. Jalapio, this is definitely an upgrade at center for the Giants. So you get Andrew Thomas and Tyler Biadasz really building up that offensive line for the Giants. Then pick 37, the Green Bay Packers, where we traded down with the Chargers. I mentioned Devin Duvernay's name there at 30, and that is who I was targeting originally, still there in this situation. I know there's other wide receivers that other people might like. Look, I love Devin Duvernay, and the Packers do need speed on the outside as well. I'm just personally not a Jalen Reagor fan at all, especially this high. Devin Duvernay is going to be a beast in the slot. He's like a faster Jarvis Landry, can get that early separation that Aaron Rodgers in this offense desperately needs. They don't have a slot guy on their roster, and this is one of the better slot receivers, true slots to come out in a long time, in my opinion. Then we got the Panthers at 38. Ross Blacklock, definitely a big need on the interior to get someone younger and to get someone next to Kawan Short. So a great ad here for the Panthers, a guy that is a borderline first-round talent here in Ross Blacklock. Miami Dolphins at 39. Gonna grab another good offensive tackle that's still sitting there, Austin Jackson. A bit raw. I'm not sure if he's going to start right away. I've got him as a borderline day one starter at offensive tackle. Might need to sit and develop just a little bit, but given the state of this offensive line, he's still probably going to be an upgrade. I do like him. He's got a little bit of bust potential. He's not a perfect prospect, but definitely a very good prospect for a second-round offensive lineman. Would be a first-round pick, I think, in a lot of years, but this tackle class is just so deep. Then with the 40th pick, the Houston Texans, interior defensive line, Justin Madubuike. It really sucks to trade DeAndre Hopkins effectively straight up for an interior defensive lineman, but this guy is a freak. You did just lose DJ Reader. JJ Watt plays a little bit on the inside, but with his injuries, with his age, like he's not going to be around forever. So definitely a position of need there for the Texans. And Madubuike does have a pretty high upside there, and is a local kid out of Texas A&M. All right, Cleveland at 41. We ended up going wide receiver at 10. A lot of Browns fans were not happy about that, but I will stand by that pick. we're going to take Ezra Cleveland, the last kind of fringe day one starter at offensive tackle left in this class. Plug him in at left tackle where he played at Boise State. Still a pretty damn good offensive line, and now you have the best wide receiving core in the NFL with a really good offensive line there for Baker. Jacksonville at 42. We're going to grab A.J. Terrell. So the third defensive pick here, trying to kind of restore what that team is all about. Offensive line, definitely something I'd think about here, but no one really of value. And this has got to be the biggest need for Jacksonville in this world. All right, number 43, Chicago. I'm going to go Kyle Duggar here. Big athletic safety out of Lenoir-Rhyne. A little bit of a risk coming out of that smaller school, but his tape is fantastic. I think this defense really missed what Adrian Amos brought to the table as that strong safety, secure tackler, fly to the ball, kind of increase the floor of that defense a little bit, just having someone that's going to limit big plays and really fly and prevent broken tackles and operate well in the short to intermediate part of the field. So kind of your Adrian Amos replacement here in the second round with Kyle Duggar, which is pretty good, and Clinton Dix is gone. Pick 44, KJ Hamler to the Indianapolis Colts. My comp for him is T.Y. Hilton. Now he's a very, very raw version of T.Y. Hilton, and no better place to go to kind of sit and learn for a little bit behind a guy in T.Y. Hilton who's probably going to be getting aged out of there here at some point in the next year or two, I would think. Indianapolis has a nice blend of kind of winning now and also continuing to build for the future. I think they do things the right way. They're not just focused on winning the next season, although they have done a good job to put themselves in that position next year. But not every pick they make needs to be about winning next year, and that's what I'm thinking here with KJ Hamler, who can still contribute, just probably won't be an elite day one starter, which is not what you necessarily need in the second round. Pick 45, Antoine Winfield here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a steal. I would be comfortable taking this player at the end of the first round. I know Tampa likes Whitehead, but the safety room there just, it's lacking. Let's just leave it at that. Antoine Winfield is versatile, great ball skills. He's going to force turnovers. Like, he just attacks the football and is always around the ball. Really good athlete. Really good comparison for him is the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. Almost an identical comparison as far as his play style and athleticism and size. Pick 46, the Denver Broncos. We're going to actually double up at wide receiver. This wide receiver room after Cortland Sutton is awful, and this is a great opportunity with a pretty deep roster at this point with what they've done in the early offseason here. A great opportunity to take advantage of a very good wide receiver class. Get a local kid here in Laviska Shenault. So you got Sutton on the outside, and I love the versatility you're going to have with Justin Jefferson and Laviska Shenault and Noah Fant. All those guys, outside of Fant, obviously, as a tight end, but Shenault and Jefferson can play a little bit outside, play a little bit of inside. Just a nice, versatile skill set there, and all of a sudden, Denver is looking at one of the best wide receiving cores in the league as well. That is how you help out a young quarterback in Drew Lock, and they've done some good things on that offensive line as well. I know some Broncos fans would want an offensive tackle here, but there's already been 9 fly off the board. I said in my tackles video, there's 9 guys in this class that I really like, and it's a big drop-off after that. So pretty easy pick there for the Broncos, to be honest. Now Atlanta at 47. So Campbell is gone. DeAndre Campbell, their outside linebacker. They really need help in that situation outside of Deion Jones. So we're going to bring in Troy Dye, who has the length kind of similar to Campbell in that outside linebacker role for this defense. Really good cover player. Atlanta doesn't really care if your linebackers are skinny either. For better or worse, they really just value coverage, which to me is for the most part a good thing. And Troy Dye is very similar to Corey Littleton. Coming out of Oregon here, 6'3", lengthy cover linebacker with pretty good instincts. I like him. New York Jets at 48. Look, this edge class is miserable, and I know Jets fans are going to be screaming for offensive tackle here. Look, it would be a crazy reach at this point with all the tackles that are gone. So when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, right? You got to adjust. So one of the best players left on the board is Curtis Weaver. It's a huge need as well for the Jets with that edge rush position. He's comfortable playing outside linebacker, can put his hand in the dirt as well if need be. He's not a perfect player. He needs to kind of play with some more power. He's got the build to do it, but he kind of just tries to run around and bend around everyone. Extremely productive at Boise State, but I do think has some learning to go. But given the state of this roster, could very well be the best edge player on this Jets team day one. So great pick there for the Jets. Would love to get a tackle, but unfortunately, all these tackles have just come off the board. Then pick 49 here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cesar Ruiz, center out of Michigan. Now, he may or may not start here day one. You got Marquise Pouncey there. This is his 10th year in the league. He's not going to be there forever. They did sign Steven Wisniewski, but they let BJ Finney go. They Foster retired there at left guard. So definitely a need right away if he does play left guard. But, this can become a theme. Second, third round, kind of like what we talked about with the Colts. There's maybe 40, 50 players in every draft that are day one impacts. Once you get into day two, day three, you have got to start thinking about future needs, draft and develop. That's what the best teams do. They're projecting who they might be letting go in the future and who they can kind of draft and develop to fill those spots. And I'm looking at Cesar Ruiz at either center or guard, whatever you want to play him at. The dude is a stud, great blocker. So this is a slam dunk pick here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then the Chicago Bears picking again here at 50. I'm going to go with offensive line. Kyle Long has retired, so you've got a gaping hole at right guard. And Netane Moody here out of Fresno State, if healthy, probably would have been a first-round guard. The dude is a freak and a mauler. So you hope he's healthy. You plug him in at right guard. You might be getting a top 20 guard or so as a rookie. I don't see anyone left in this class that is confidently going to be a starter. Now, Netane Moody, it's all about health, but if healthy, you're getting that. So I'm going to plug him in there at right guard for the Bears. Moving on, the Dallas Cowboys. This is an interesting one. This was a tough decision. I'm going to take Chase Claypool, wide receiver, kind of tight end hybrid out of Notre Dame. He's going to play slot wide receiver basically for this team. Be used kind of like your divisional counterpart, Evan Ingram, there for the New York Giants. So Randall Cobb's gone. You do have a hole in the slot. The tight end room there, not so great. Cooper and Gallup are excellent outside threats, but I think Dak really would benefit from having a elite mismatch problem in the middle of the field. I really like how this wide receiver group would kind of mesh together and mesh well with both Dak's skill set and the good play calling of Kellen Moore. So you're projecting him to kind of learn a new position and develop in a different way than what he was used as an outside wide receiver in college. But with that athleticism at that size, I think that's the role he's got to play in the NFL. And I think Dallas is the team that can get that out of him. Then we get the Rams, Nick Harris. They need a center pretty desperately, and this guy can freaking move. McVay is going to love his mobility in his kind of zone blocking, move the pocket blocking scheme that they run there for the Rams. Philly at 53, we're going to grab a linebacker, Malik Harrison out of Ohio State. Big dude, can definitely thump, but he's got some fluidity in coverage and, a little bit like a Nigel Bradham replacement. He's got a ways to go as far as learning how to be a better cover linebacker. Really wasn't asked to do too much at Ohio State, but he can absolutely run and develop as a coverage guy. It's a huge need for the Eagles. Then we got the Buffalo Bills. This one, kind of makes your eyes pop a little bit. Jonathan Taylor, basically a Leonard Fournette clone coming out of Wisconsin. Just straight line speed and power. That's basically what you're getting here. Not going to contribute a whole lot as a receiver. Look, Devin Singletary, I know Bills Mafia loves the guy. He's not a true starting running back. He's a really good player, good third down back, a good relief pitching kind of guy. You're definitely going to keep him involved, especially in the passing game, because right here, Jonathan Taylor doesn't contribute too much as that. But this is an element that this Bills team is definitely missing, just that fear factor from their run game. And this pick gives you a little bit of that. Because as much as you want to hype up Josh Allen, I just don't think opening up some elite passing game is going to be the way for them to become an elite football team. I think they do need to have a good balance with a good running back, and this is an excellent pick. Now we get the Baltimore Ravens at 55. I'm going to grab Damian Lewis at guard. This dude is a freaking mauler. You've got a hole there at right guard. They've got some young pieces that have played a little bit, but no true talent on the interior. Just some guys, some smart guys. This gives you that physical force. You put this guy next to Orlando Brown, good luck to defensive lines lining up on the defensive left side there against those two guys. So, look out. Ravens adding another fierce run blocker. Does need to develop as a pass blocker, but the benefit here is the Ravens don't ask these guys to have a lot of traditional pass sets anyway, so just a perfect fit, a huge need filled for the Ravens, and only complements what they do best. Then we've got the Miami Dolphins at pick 56. Time to shift our attention to the defensive side of the ball. We've done a good job building up this offensive line around Tua. Now we are going to take Julian Okwara, who's kind of a versatile 3-4 edge outside linebacker. We know in his heart of hearts, Brian Flores, coming from that Belichick defense, he wants these versatile 3-4 outside linebacker edge guys. That's the kind of defense these guys know and want to run, and Okwara is the perfect fit there. He's definitely more of a pass rusher than a cover guy, which is actually the way you kind of want it, but he absolutely has the instincts and fluidity in his drops to play a lot of coverage as well. So definitely can be a Brian Flores, Belichickian edge outside linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. Houston Texans at 57. We're going to take Denzel Mims finally. Now, he's probably going to be a first-round pick in real life based on what everyone's saying. I'm just not fully on board the hype train. This is a what I would do mock draft. Now, could he turn into a number one wide receiver and your eventual DeAndre Hopkins replacement? I think he could. There's definitely the upside there. I do see it in flashes. I just don't see it on the consistent basis I want to see. The nice thing here is not only, home connection or whatever for whatever weight you want to put in that, but he doesn't even necessarily have to start here. He can take some time to learn and grow behind some really good deep threats there in Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, kind of develop that and eventually overtake as the long-term number one wide receiver there. We've seen second round receivers really blow up into number one guys, so this would be an excellent landing spot for Denzel Mims. I know Brett Coleman would be pretty damn happy about this too. Fellow YouTuber who is a Texans fan, obsessed with Denzel Mims. Minnesota at 58, got to grab a corner here. That depth chart is depleted. Jaylon Johnson, a good Xavier Rhodes replacement, lengthy press corner, grab him. Seattle at 59, need some offensive line help. Prince Tega Wanogho, I see him as a long-term replacement to Dwayne Brown. I don't know if I'd start him day one, but he's got a lot of physical upside, so plug him in there as a backup and eventual starter here protecting Russell Wilson. Baltimore Ravens at pick 60. This one could be considered a reach depending on who you ask. Bryce Huff out of Memphis. When I watched this guy, all I kept saying was this dude is a Baltimore Raven. 6'3", 260 pounds, flies off the ball, gets his hands inside, and just will drive you backwards. And that is what the Ravens want from that edge position. They don't necessarily care as much about bend or speed off the edge. They want to push that pocket, make sure the quarterback feels you, and let their coverage unit do the rest. And that is exactly what Bryce Huff is. I have no idea why this guy didn't get a combine invite, but this is the perfect fit and a big need. I don't know if Matthew Judon's a long-term answer there. They have Jalen Ferguson there, but that's really it. They have let that edge room kind of run a little more dry as of late, so they got to replenish it. I think they know it. Bryce Huff is the perfect fit, so I'm just going to take him and not mess around. Pick 61, James Lynch here to the Titans. They just let Jurrell Casey go. I do love Jeffrey Simmons, but you need more than one interior guy. Even Johnson, their nose tackle, is a free agent as of right now. So I'm going to grab James Lynch. Perfect fit to replace Jurrell Casey, who played a lot of kind of 4-tech, 3-tech, lining up on the outside shoulders of guards. I think that's where James Lynch is going to be at his best. He played a lot of edge at Baylor, actually almost exclusively edge. So he's got to learn a little bit of a new position, but you're getting some freaky explosiveness on the interior there between James Lynch and Jeffrey Simmons, and a kind of natural replacement for Jurrell Casey. Green Bay at pick 62, Troy Pride Jr. Talked about it before, teams, especially here at the end of the second round, you can't just be picking to try and find starters to help you win right now. Reaching for a linebacker that's going to start next to Christian Kirksey just by necessity doesn't mean it's the right pick. Kevin King's on the last year of his deal. He's not all that good anyway. This cornerback depth chart is miserable. Troy Pride could even start as a slot corner here if they wanted him to. But Green Bay, simply put, just needs more corner help. I say it all the time on this channel. All the best teams are constantly adding players in the secondary. The smartest front offices in the league understand that you need 3 or 4 guys that you can trust on the field. Injuries happen. Players leave in free agency. You gotta keep that cornerback room stocked up, and Green Bay right now is not doing a very good job of that. They got lucky last year. All their guys stayed healthy, but that is really hard to expect, especially with Kevin King being a starter. So Troy Pride is the pick for me, especially with Green Bay, who's a team that's got to be kind of picky with their corners. They like fast corners who can run man coverage and stick with guys. Not a whole lot of those out there, Troy Pride being one of them. Pick 63, the Kansas City Chiefs. I've mocked them offensive tackle in the first round before. We didn't do it here. Isaiah Wilson is the perfect guy to draft and develop here. Not a day one starter, but you got Schwartz and you've got Fisher there. Both guys on the wrong side of 30. Not long-term answers at tackle. So you either pick Wilson to kind of develop long-term there at tackle. He definitely has the size and athleticism to do it, but he's very raw. Or you just kick him into guard. He could even be a day one starter at guard, and you're getting a really high upside guard. So I like Isaiah Wilson. I like the idea of Isaiah Wilson. I just think it needs to be a team like Kansas City who's going to know how to develop this kind of player. Then Seattle. This was a tough pick, but I'm going to take Marlon Davidson, who's definitely high on my board. I have an early second round grade on the guy. Blew up in his final season at Auburn. A versatile guy, can play that edge role for this team if they want him to, as that first down run defender on the edge, and then kick him inside to utilize some of those pass rushing abilities on passing downs. But he can also just be a full-time starter on the interior, offers some really good flexibility. Definitely a need for the Seahawks, so we're going to grab him. I think it would be an impact day one. Okay, the third round here, this one's definitely, we're going to run through this pretty quick. Just going to give one or two quick reasons for all of these picks. So 65, the Cincinnati Bengals, Jordan Brooks. They need linebacker. This dude is pretty similar to like Zach Brown coming out of Texas Tech. I don't know if he's going to cover all that well, but he is going to be a nasty force in the middle of the defense. At least a couple-year placeholder there as a starting caliber linebacker that can stop the run. Washington Redskins, we're just recreating the Ohio State offense here because they have Terry McLaurin, Dwayne Haskins, and KJ Hill here to the Redskins. That's not just the Ohio State connection. I think it's cool, but that's not the real reason we make this pick. They need a slot wide receiver, and that is what he is. Julian Edelman is a great comp for KJ Hill, who doesn't have great speed, but is definitely a guy that can separate quick and early. Detroit, Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma, really explosive, good run defender. That interior defensive line is starting to get thinner and thinner after not long ago. A lot of people were thinking it was the best interior defensive line in the world. It wasn't, but they definitely need guys right now. So Neville Gallimore. The New York Jets, going to grab Lucas Niang out of TCU. Pretty raw guy, weird build too. He's got a super heavy top. He can get caught leaning quite a bit, but this guy's not that far off of being a starter. I think in a thinner tackle class, he's probably a second round pick. I don't know if I fully trust him to start at tackle, but he could start at tackle for this Jets team, I think. Then the Carolina Panthers, we're going to grab a safety, Ashton Davis. They got Trey Boston there, but other than that, Justin Burris coming over from Cleveland, that's probably not going to be a long-term solution. So safety, a huge need. Just continuing to build up the defense here. I think they got some good playmakers on the offensive side of the ball for Teddy, but they got to replenish this defense. Arizona, we're going to go offensive guard here at 70. Solomon Kinley. Doesn't necessarily have to start right away. A little more raw coming out early, but a very good player nonetheless. I think he certainly could start. They do have Sweezy. They have Pugh there. But long-term, they need some interior help for Kyler Murray. Would maybe love to go center, but that'd be a huge reach at this point. Kinley is just a much better player. Also under the radar, has a chemistry with Lamont Gaillard, who is a center coming out of Georgia last year that I like, who could potentially be their starting center this year. We'll see how that all plays out. Then Green Bay, they got this pick from the swap with the Chargers, and I'm going to double down on wide receiver here. Van Jefferson out of Florida. I love this player. My comp for him is Keenan Allen. Even has similar injury concerns coming out of college, which is why he just might fall here to the third round. Also a very similar player to Devontae Adams, just runs those smooth routes, really good at setting up corners, awesome footwork and release off the line of scrimmage. I think he's even a little faster as a deep threat. So he's going to come in and compete there with, Equanimeous St. Brown, Alan Lazard, who showed some nice things last year. This to me was the worst wide receiving core, 2 through 6 in the NFL last year by a country mile. So this draft just completely replenishes it, along with getting Equanimeous St. Brown back for next year. And all of a sudden you can start to get excited about some of the separation that might be happening here in this wide receiver room for Green Bay next year. Then the Arizona Cardinals, Terrell Lewis out of Alabama, super talented edge player. He might be the third or fourth best edge guy in this class. Now, it's not a very good edge class, but he's got pretty major injury concerns. The last 2 years just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So if you can get him healthy, Arizona is getting a total steal. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Carl Lawson, who coming out was an awesome player on tape, but just had some serious injury concerns. So maybe they're getting that here in Arizona, which should be a steal in the third. Jacksonville, going to double up on corner. Bryce Hall, cornerback out of Virginia. Again, a lengthy press guy that can play in this scheme, a perfect fit. This team's cornerback room is just awful right now after they traded away A.J. Bouye. So I think they almost got to double up here in the first couple rounds. Cleveland, Julian Blackmon, a safety out of Utah. Interesting player. I think if he was able to be healthy, have his workouts, and really show that range that he can have at that free safety position, now next to Carl Joseph, he'd be a guy in early second round discussions. And those Utah safeties have had a really good track record coming in, looking at guys like Marcus Williams for the Saints and Marquise Blair for the Seahawks. A very similar build here. So excellent pick here for the Browns. A torn ACL in December, so he should be about ready for the start of the season. That's, these days it's like a 7 to 8 month recovery, so you'd think he'd be back. Maybe he gets pushed into the second half of the season, but it's more than just picking for next year anyway. And then Indianapolis, Bryson Hopkins, the first tight end off the board. So adding some really good playmakers here for the Colts, especially in that short to intermediate passing game. Now you've got DeAndre Swift, Bryson Hopkins, still got Jack Doyle there. Hopefully Paris Campbell in year 2 can step up. And that's where Phillip Rivers is going to need to thrive, is with a really solid short to intermediate passing game where these guys can do a lot of work after the catch, and Bryson Hopkins is only going to add to that. Tampa Bay, going to grab Joe Reed. I've talked about him in other videos on my Twitter. I think he's one of the sleeper wide receivers in this class. Just a playmaking kind of guy, kind of like a Deebo Samuel, Randall Cobb kind of hybrid. I like his ball skills too. Tampa Bay needs a slot guy, and Joe Reed can come in and start in the slot day one. He's a guy that can get the ball in his hands pretty quickly. We know that it's going to be a lot of short passes with Tom Brady here in Tampa Bay, and Joe Reed's going to catch a lot of them and do a lot after the catch. Denver, with the 77th pick, Noah Igbenogany out of Auburn. Great athlete, a lot of good tape. Denver needs corner. Pretty simple pick. Atlanta, Matt Hennessy, center out of Temple. Again, not every pick's going to be looking to win for next year. Alex Mack can't play center forever, and Matt Hennessy is a perfect outside zone blocker, something Atlanta wants to keep doing for the future, and Matt Hennessy can help you run that outside zone scheme where the center is very important, and he gets to learn from one of the best. New York Jets, Ben Bartch, just going to kind of throw darts at offensive line here in this round. Coming out of St. John's, he kicked ass. That's a D3 school. He better. So you're hoping that he can do that at the NFL level, look pretty good at the Senior Bowl. He can play some guard as well, so you add some versatility, maybe a swing sixth man on that offensive line. But definitely continuing to try to rework that offensive line. Then we got back-to-back picks for the Raiders. So at 80, I'm going to grab a corner, Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State. Definitely falling because of the 40 time, but he's a guy that a lot of people thought maybe a first-round pick before he ran on the 4.6s. It's not a death sentence. It's never been a death sentence, but it definitely lowers your upside a little bit. So I do like the player. Big need for the Raiders. And we're going to grab a safety as well, Kayvon Wallace out of Clemson. He's going to be kind of your replacement there for Carl Joseph, who you let go. I think he could actually be a day one starter for this defense. Dallas Cowboys at pick 82. Edge, still a desperate need. Kenny Willekes out of Michigan State is the pick here. Probably never going to be a star player, but he could actually start day one and give you a low-end starter, I think. A really good physical edge player. Can be a really good run defender, if nothing else here. Then pick 83, the Denver Broncos are back up. I am going to take a swing at offensive line. It's Robert Hunt out of UL Lafayette. He's a good player. Has some versatility as well. Big dude, can kind of maul dudes in the run game. I think he might be a guard at the next level, but he could play tackle as well. Kind of like what this team had in Billy Turner, who was a little bit of a flexible swing man, six man on the offensive line, which is something this team could need given the age of Ronald Leary at right guard. You never know when he could start getting hurt, as well with Juwan James at right tackle, who's been a very injury-prone player. So could be good depth here that you can rely on there on the offensive line. Now we're going to have Zach Bond coming off the board for the Rams. Now, I am much lower on this player, that a lot of mocks have him in the first round. He's a guy that's got to convert from edge to off-ball linebacker, unless he's landing in one of these hybrid New England schemes where he's going to be that outside linebacker. But here for the Rams, they do run 3-4 team. He could technically be a 3-4 outside linebacker. Again, I think he's best off converting to traditional off-ball inside linebacker. Really nice movement skills. And believe it or not, that's actually what this team did with Corey Littleton. So I don't know if he's going to start day one. I think there's a chance he could if he really picks up things quickly. Just a player that I don't understand the first round hype on. I think he's much closer to Leon Jacobs, who was the exact same player coming out of Wisconsin, to be completely honest, and was also an elite athlete, who was a 7th round pick and is a fine off-ball linebacker for the Jaguars. I think he's a better player than that, but I think he's much closer to that than some first round off-ball linebackers. So regardless, the Rams are comfortable with this player. They need edge too, so if he sucks at linebacker, maybe he could actually start at edge day one and be a low-level contributor. Who knows? I just think this is a great fit for Zach Bond, whatever he plays at the next level. Detroit Lions, this is going to be the Jalen Reagor pick. Now, to me, he's just a speed threat. I don't love his game at all. I don't think he's a great route runner. I don't think he has good hands. Really good kick returner. I think he's much more Cordarrelle Patterson than he is Deshaun Jackson. But he can do some nice things as a vertical threat. Few better places than Detroit, where him and Matthew Stafford can really develop some chemistry over time. He can learn a year under Marvin Jones, who has some of the best deep ball skills in the league. So great landing spot here for Jalen Reagor. I don't know if he would start day one, but definitely a great long-term future pick here for Detroit. Buffalo at pick 86, Anthony Jennings. Excellent hybrid replacement for Lorenzo Alexander, who's gone. That's my explanation for that one. Carter Coughlin, easy explanation here. Edge guy at Minnesota, little undersized, but elite movement skills. He could be a day one starter. I think he would be at outside linebacker, going right in where Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins were. Number 88, New Orleans, Jacob Eason out of Washington. I'm not a fan. I think he's basically Mason Rudolph, who I didn't like either, coming out of Oklahoma State. But you never know with these guys, especially in a situation like New Orleans. Time to stop kidding yourselves that Hill is the future at quarterback. So let's get a legitimate quarterback prospect in here to develop for a year under Drew Brees and see what happens. Minnesota, grab Michael Pittman out of USC. So you lost Stephon Diggs. You need some wide receiver help here. Haven't gotten it to this point, but this is where they really maximize on the depth of this class. There's a chance they're getting Juju Smith-Schuster here in the 3rd round. Really physical player. Is definitely going to run block. We know that Zimmer's going to like that about him. Really good ball skills, similar to Stephon Diggs. I think he could be a low-end number 2 wide receiver on day one. Houston at pick 90. Time to start addressing this edge group. Not an instant need, but J.J. Watt plays a lot of edge. He's a long-term question mark. How long is Whitney Merciless going to be there? So Bradley and I, a really good player. Not a future star or anything, but a player I do like out of Utah. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, going to grab Michael Onwenu. Not a day one starter here, but every person on the interior of that offensive line is getting up there in age. So he offers day one depth and a long-term answer on the interior, potential high upside starter coming out of Michigan, just a beast. Pick number 92, the Baltimore Ravens, Albert Okwuegbunam, ran that surprising 4.5 40. Now, I don't think he had that great play speed on tape, but they let Hayden Hurst go. This team loves 2-3 tight end sets. Definitely need some depth in that tight end room. If anything were to happen to Mark Andrews, they need someone that can stretch the field vertically, and at least Okwuegbunam is 6'6" and can run and can develop in a situation that's as good as any for developing players. Tennessee, Cam Akers out of Florida State. I'm not on the 2nd round hype with this guy, but you put him in Tennessee as a backup to Derrick Henry. He can catch the ball too, which is something they need as kind of a 3rd down back. Henry doesn't do a whole lot of that. I can definitely get behind Cam Akers as a good value pick here in the 3rd round. Then we got the Chargers. They're going to grab Devon Hamilton, interior defensive lineman out of Ohio State. Never going to be an elite player, but going to add some physicality and run defense to this interior of the defense that is definitely the weak link of their defense right now. Denver, Darnay Holmes, cornerback out of UCLA. 3rd round corner is never a guarantee, so we're going to grab 2 really good athletes. We took Igbenogany earlier, going to grab Darnay Holmes, who I really like, a good athlete out of UCLA. Huge need for the Broncos to fill out that corner room. Kansas City Chiefs at 96. Zach Moss out of Utah. A Kareem Hunt replacement. Catch the ball out of the backfield, make guys miss, good contact balance, big physical running back that Andy Reid loves these types. He's just a better version of Damian Williams. Cleveland at pick 97. Logan Wilson. Excellent pick here. He is the perfect replacement for Joe Schobert. Good athlete with length, can drop into coverage, good run defender, huge need for the Browns. Easy pick there. New England at 98. We're going to add some speed to this wide receiver group. Brandon Ayuk, pairing him back with N'Keal Harry, who they play together at Arizona State. Someone who can, hopefully develop as a route runner and become a better separator, but can get open early on slants and be a really nice catch and run threat. Not as high on Ayuk, but this is a good spot and a good value at this point in the draft. The Giants, we're going to grab a running back here, Anthony McFarland out of Maryland. Love Saquon, but it shouldn't be that controversial to add a third down back here just as a reliever. He's not going to play a whole lot, but, injuries happen. You just signed Blake Martinez for 3 years, so this team's not going anywhere for 3 years. Saquon's going to be like a broken down old car by the time Dave Gettleman's fired and Blake Martinez is no longer a Giant. Let's split the load up just a little bit here with another really explosive young player in Anthony McFarland. New England's up again. I'm going to grab Adam Troutman, tight end out of Dayton. He's a really good run blocker that they're going to like. Disappointing 40 time, but he's still a decent athlete at his size, and I think could actually be their starting tight end on day one right now. Seattle, just going to grab another offensive lineman, Calvin Throckmorton. Probably a career swingman, to be honest, but that has some value because this guy can literally play center, guard, or tackle. So you have an injury or you have a guy that just all of a sudden starts sucking, you can put him in there and he can get in guys' ways no matter where he is. Smart player. That's why Oregon put him at center when they had injuries. So I think this is a great landing spot. Keep him on the West Coast as well. Pittsburgh, Lavert Hill to Michigan. Really good athlete. It's a secondary that I think needs to continue to add pieces to it. And then Jacksonville going to grab Antonio Gibson, running back out of Memphis. Really good pass catcher out of the backfield. Now Leonard Fournette still there in Jacksonville for now. Maybe that can become Leonard Fournette's new nickname for now. But Gibson's going to be a friendly target in the passing game, unlike Leonard Fournette, there for Gardner Minshew. And he can carry some of the load too if and when Leonard Fournette gets hurt. Rams at 104. I'm actually going to take another linebacker here, Shaquille Quarterman. This linebacker room is just decrepit right now. Quarterman's a little bit of a safer player, more of a run defender than a cover player. But if Zach Bond isn't ready day one to start at inside linebacker, this guy's a player that you'd be much more comfortable putting in there. I think this team's going to try to bring Bryce Hager back, and then that can kind of be the three guys that they roll with. It's not ideal, but I think it's just like the thinnest position group on that team, and they need to spend a couple of these picks on that room. Minnesota, we're going to grab another corner, David Arnett. Super thin group. Not a whole lot of cap space to bring in veterans either, so this gives you a fourth corner with some upside here in the fourth round. And, corners 2 through 3 right now with Jaylon Johnson and Hill, Holton Hill, who's had some pretty big off-the-field issues, no guarantee. So definitely need to continue to address that corner room, which is the biggest need on this team at this moment. And then the Baltimore Ravens at 106. This is going to be Jeremy Chin. Definitely someone to keep an eye on. Shooting up draft boards. Freak performance at the Combine. Worked out with the safeties, but he's 6'3", 220. I think he would play that dime linebacker, come in on third downs in year one, and can really be a good cover guy in a defense that's going to understand how to utilize this guy, just like they've used Anthony Levine in the past. And he has the size to maybe be a starting linebacker too, so you never know. Kind of a luxury pick here for the Ravens at the end of the third round with a comp pick. So that is it. I know it was a bit of a megalodon, but you guys earned it by hitting that like button on the last video. Please do it again for this one if you enjoyed. Drop your comments down below. Cheers as always, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace out.